Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Quality Hub, chatting with ISO experts. I'm your host, Xavier Francis, and I'm here with Suzanne Strasser, VP of Consulting and Development here at Core Business Solutions. So glad you could be with us today, Suzanne.
Thank you, Xavier. I'm really excited to be here.
Today's show is entitled Kickoff for Quality, and we'll be discussing the benefits of implementing the ISO 9001 standard, which is a quality management standard. But before we dive in, let's learn a little bit more about Suzanne. So, Suzanne, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I've been in quality for, since the late 80s. I actually worked at Conair Company in Bloomsburg as quality manager for about 20 years before coming to Core, and have dealt with here thousands of customers over the years, literally, in helping to implement ISO standards and quality systems. I'm really passionate about quality overall and helping small businesses improve.
Well, Suzanne, thanks for being here, and I do really see your passion as you work here at Core. I know it's something that you really care about, our customers, and helping them, using a quality management system to really succeed. I would like to talk a little bit about the goal of our podcast. What we want to do is we want to share the knowledge that people like Suzanne and other guests that will be on here, what they've gained by working in quality management systems and ISO standards and other business aspects to you, our listeners, so you can gain some insight or even be encouraged on that journey.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, our organization has had a vast amount of combined experience, like I said before, working with thousands of customers. And we really want to share those stories and lessons learned with folks. And we understand that these concepts can be really confusing.
Yes, they can.
So, I think our goal is to normally, in any project or interaction with a customer, to help, to be a translator, to kind of demystify these requirements and simplify these principles so that people can really apply them to their own business.
Absolutely. And I know that over the upcoming weeks and months, we're not only going to be exploring ISO 9001 implementation, but also other topics that pertain to business. One of our upcoming ones, probably in about a month and a half, 2 months, is going to be how to promote your certification and more. So it's not just going to be about getting into the standard, talking about it, but aspects of business that's going to benefit you, the listeners. But for today, we are going to tackle some basics. First off, what is and why use a QMS?
All right. So QMS stands for Quality Management System. Quality management principles have been around for many years, really as a benchmark for good business practice. And a QMS can provide a framework to ensure you're meeting your own customer requirements. You actually have to monitor customer feedback, so it's really a heavy focus on your customer base.
Well, that certainly seems important. How did these ISO standards, right now we're talking about 9001, which is quality, how did they get started and evolve?
Sure. ISO itself has roots in military standards that were developed for procurement purposes, and in Europe, ISO was used primarily as a way to facilitate trade. So basically to give assurance to customers that this particular supplier had systems in place not only to produce quality products and services, but also to respond to problems and so on. So now it's this internationally recognized standard, which is the basis for certification. And I think it's important to know that these are written standards and they get revised periodically to keep up with changing environments.
Well, that absolutely makes sense that a standard would change with times. Businesses evolve. So what are some of the business benefits of having a quality management system?
I think having an effective quality management system helps your organization define and improve your processes ultimately. It helps you identify and reduce risk and to avoid potential problems.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
We want to avoid those.
Absolutely. So when we start an implementation process, we look at what ISO calls the context of the organization. It's a fancy term.
What's that mean?
Basically, it asks you to imagine your business as the center of the universe, so to speak, and think of all the things that could impact it, the context, internally and externally, which in turn impacts your ability to meet your own customers' requirements. And this is all related to risk.
Okay, maybe we have some examples of those. I know that's something that we have talked about in the past as an internal factor. You talked about internal and external. An internal factor might be an aging workforce and working through the consequences of losing people that They have a ton of knowledge about maybe how to do things if you're in manufacturing. All that knowledge, what happens when they leave or retire?
Right. That's a real issue, and you have to plan for those factors. An external example might be cybersecurity threats and how prepared you are for that eventuality.
That's
Because
a
it
big
will
thing
happen.
right now. Yeah,
Yeah. The QMS makes you think about these things and prioritize them based on risk and develop plans. And these are improvements to your processes that may not be apparent to your customers right away, but they would certainly impact them negatively if you didn't address them in the long run.
absolutely they would. So you're identifying risks and you're satisfying customers. Those are some of the main benefits, which, I mean, those are big things. And having a system in place to address those things, that's got to be a serious benefit. So let's look at another aspect of a company, which is going to be their employees. What may be some benefits that a quality management system gives to them?
I think for employees, I think of the word predictability. A management system, kind of by definition, has specific and repeatable outcomes. So as an employee, I know that I'm going to be trained because that's a requirement of the standard.
And it's probably good practice.
Yes. And there's, specific ways to solve problems through the corrective action process, and that I should be aware of the quality policy, for example, or associated measures of my job to know how I'm doing.
You mentioned training and problem solving. Having those things in place can have a really positive effect on an employee morale.
Yes.
I'm aware of what my job is. If there's a problem, I know who to seek out or what to do.
Yeah, and also I think when a management system is implemented with transparency, and you can argue that the standard really says it needs to be, it really helps align everybody in the organization on common beliefs and measures and even attitudes toward customers.
Everybody's pulling in that same direction.
Yeah, this really helps immensely, in our own personal decisions when you have to make a choice. And I know which path to take and the steps I need to get there because it's defined and it's repeatable.
Yeah. I mean, you know what to expect and what to do if something unexpected happens. That can really give employees a sense of security in the decisions that they may need to make. Also, planning and taking specific steps that can help keep them from confusion. So those are employees and their benefits. What are some benefits for management?
Well, certainly the alignment of your organization, as we were discussing, is no small benefit.
Yeah, I mean, getting everybody focused.
Yes. I'm really amazed at how many small businesses I've gone into over the years aren't measuring anything.
Nothing?
No, they don't know if they ship on time or how many customer complaints they have or who's truly trained or what. It's really what I think of as kind of controlled chaos,
That's a really neat way to put it, controlled chaos, but it totally makes sense.
Yeah. Folks are in business in spite of themselves sometimes. Yeah. So having less upheaval and drama because employees know what's important really makes life better for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you're managing people, and if they know their job, some of it happens on its own, if you will.
Yeah, and it can also lead to better efficiency and employee retention. And a byproduct is also reduced costs due to errors and waste.
So you're putting things in order, you're getting better efficiency, you're retaining employees because they know what they're supposed to do, they have some tie-in to the company, and that's all going to make management pretty happy. Like I said before, it might make your job a little bit easier. Are there any other things that may help management when a QMS is in place?
Well, obviously, if you choose to get certified, there's that international recognition of your certification, which hopefully leads to more customers or contracts or, increased points for a government contract bid process.
Mm-hmm.
Improves customer satisfaction should also be a benefit. I mean, your customers should actually notice that you're certified. If they don't see a difference, then I'd be doing some reflection.
I would too. I mean, you mentioned earlier here about, getting contracts. I know a lot of people may be here listening to this podcast because one of their customers said, you know what? We're going to need you to be certified in ISO 9001 if you want to keep your contract with us.
It's very common. In certain industries, aerospace and automotive, they really flow down those requirements to their own suppliers for certification.
Well, that would make sense. I mean, you want strict requirements because, you're building something that's going to carry people, maybe even carry other products.
Yes.
Any other points on management benefits? Maybe something you've experienced?
Sure. As we talked at the beginning, reduced risk is certainly a big benefit internally, even through things like ensuring your documents are controlled so that everybody's using the correct version.
That would be important.
Yeah. So imagine having a drawing that got revised, but folks in manufacturing are using the old one and produce a few hundred of the wrong part.
Wow. Yeah.
It happens a lot.
That's just nothing but waste, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the chances of the person who made the part being blamed is probably going to be high, even if it's not their fault, because, well, they're the one that did it.
Yeah. It's definitely a process issue at play there. Yep.
But the real issue is they didn't even know there was a change. So
Yeah.
what is your process to
Right.
get them information on changes that need to be made? It does sound like Quality Management System has a lot of benefits for the entire company, whether it's employees, management, and it also gives you a way to reel things in that you just haven't been paying attention to. And that controlled chaos you talked about, maybe making it a little less chaos and more
Yes.
controlled, that might be a good way to look at it. Man, this has just really been great, Suze. I really appreciate you talking to us today about the beginnings of Quality Management System, what goes into there. Do you have any stories or any other potential business benefits?
I think about the first time I got a plant certified, which was, as I mentioned, at Conair in the 90s. We had 400 people there in Bloomsburg, and it was pretty early in the process to get certified. And I really do believe our entire organization came together. You had grown men crying the day that we got
Wow.
certified.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was something to see, and really did bring people together and look at their processes, and kind of all totally be on the same page.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing that
yeah.
someone would actually get, emotional about a quality management system. But I
Yeah.
think that is telling to how it can affect people
Mhm.
when something may be a little bit dysfunctional
Yes.
and then it gets fixed and they have buy-in and they really do care.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that there are employees and people that are out there that they're just there for the paycheck. But so many people come into work and they want to do a good job.
Absolutely.
So now if you're enabling them and the people feel buy-in because, hey, people are paying attention to what I'm doing, making sure I have what I need. I mean, that's incredible. That's just incredible. Is there anything else you'd like to share in regards to quality management systems?
I think the real thing is to just get started. This is easy to put off. It's
Yeah.
kind of like when you're trying to decide to have kids or not. And, there's always a reason to put it off. There's never a good time. If you want
Yes.
kids, just have kids. So just do it.
Just do
If you have any inclination that you want to put these principles in place, just get started.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about in the future how to do that. And some of it, I'm going to give you a little hint. Just pay attention to what you're already doing and see how that manages to come out and maybe documenting it. All these little hints. We'll see. We'll talk about
All
that
right,
next
yes.
week.
Okay.
But I really want to appreciate you for being here, Suzanne. All of your information, all of your stories, all of your expertise. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm happy to have been here, and good luck to everybody on their quality journey, no matter where they're at. I look forward to coming back for some future topics.
Absolutely. And thank you all for listening to the Quality Hub, and we hope that you tune in to next week's podcast. Have a great day, everybody.